I just, I just, I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 79 of the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm your gracious host, Greg Lacey. As we always do about this time, I do want to take this time to send my thoughts and prayers to everybody out in the world as we continue battle this COVID crisis. Hope that you are taking the proper precautions to protect yourself and your loved ones. You know, my usual spew, but it's still as important as the first time I said it because we are still fighting this deadly virus. We're still trying to get over this current pandemic, this current state that we are in worldwide. And it's important that we all, do our part in making sure that we get out of this current state that we are in as soon as possible. With that being said, I also want to take this time to send a huge shout out to Brussels, Belgium, to my listeners in Brussels, Belgium. I always, within my podcast, as I'm doing, my research on insights and seeing where listeners are listening in from and what they're listening to and how long they're listening to. I always pay attention to where my listeners are from. And every single episode, I'm getting listens in specifically Brussels, Belgium. I don't know who it is out there because I know I always have friends because of the military that are misplaced throughout the world, but I know I currently don't have any friends in Brussels, Belgium. So I don't know exactly who it is that's listening to the podcast in Brussels, Belgium, but I definitely appreciate your listenership. I appreciate everyone's listenership, but I do want to take this time just to shout out Brussels, Belgium, specifically right now. So huge shout out to y'all. Thank y'all to whoever listened to my podcast. And with that being said, welcome to episode 79 of the Speak on Peace podcast, as I just said. If it's your first time listening, welcome. If this is not, welcome back. Hope that I'm able to continue to retain your listenership as we continue to grow with this podcast. It's definitely appreciated. I can't stress that enough. So thank you all. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. This week I didn't feel like recording an episode. Partially because I was still in vacay mode. We had the 3-day weekend due to Martin Luther King Day falling on Monday, but I took the Friday from work off. So I just been off for 4 days, and then I got back home, Monday evening, and then had to readjust and get ready for the work week. And as the week progressed and then yesterday came, I was like, this is the day I normally record the podcast, and I don't feel like recording it right now. And so I didn't. And then as a result, I had to push the podcast back a date. And even with that, I was like, before I was recording today, I was like, do I actually want to record? I can skip a week. I can do blah, blah, blah. And essentially, obviously, I'm here recording, so I decided to record. But as I started to build out topics, I was like, because of what happened this week, with this week being the week of the Inauguration Day, this episode was going to be tailored towards that, and I don't have too many feelings towards that. But as I started to build out the different topics as in regards to Inauguration Day, so many different things came up. I was like, okay, there's no way that I cannot not record this week. Even if it's a short episode, I still had to put something out this week. So here we are. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. I'm going to try to make this episode as short as possible. I do got something special for you all for next week's episode, so definitely tune into that. But for the time being, we are right here, right now. We are living in the moment. So again, welcome to episode 79 of the Speak One Piece podcast. As I said in my opening remarks, we're still dealing with COVID. We're still battling COVID. And one of something that I've noticed reading, media outlets, watching the news and seeing different things. Obviously, the biggest thing as it relates to COVID that's been covered in the media is the vaccines being issued to people worldwide. And then obviously the other thing is this second strain or this variant of COVID-19 been found in different places. So I'm starting this off as in regards to this, to the vaccines, because of something I seen on the news. And I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me. So Florida came up with this plan to distribute the vaccines to the underprivileged communities and underserved communities. Obviously, the communities that's heavily populated by Black people, Latinx community, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and so on and so forth. And so they came up with a plan to, make sure that the people that live in these communities is not served as much as the other communities that are obviously highly populated by white people. And so the plan was basically to partner with local churches, because within those communities, that's where the majority of people of those descents within the underprivileged community, that's where they congregate. They congregate in churches, on the weekends, and that's a place where you can find a lot of these people. And so, I'm paraphrasing in my reasoning for the plan, but basically they partner with churches within these communities so that they made sure that these people who they were trying to reach were receiving the vaccines. Me thinking, for all of the crazy things that we read that go on in Florida, all the crazy things that happen in Florida, this was like something very surprising for me to read, to be happening in Florida, because we know what's been going on in Florida for the past 10 years. Actually, we don't know, and that's a problem. They just be down there wilding. But for me to find this out, it was like, that's great that somebody is doing it. That one, somebody is recognizing that, these people in the underprivileged communities and these underserved communities are probably not going to have access to the vaccine because of where they live. And, they're always counted out. And that's a theme that's covered in this podcast a lot. Serving the underprivileged and underserved communities, and the importance of that, and how much I care about that in those communities. And so, me, that hit a spot in my heart, and I'm like, okay, this is something that I can get behind. This is something that I'm definitely proud of. I'm not proud of as if I did it, but something that I'm definitely proud to read and definitely proud to find out. And so things happen, and they started to issue and get ready to issue out the vaccines, and there came a problem. And this problem was that people who did not live in these communities were going to these communities to ensure that they got their vaccines as soon as possible. And I can't say that I'm against that. I'm not against anybody, if you want to take the vaccine, and I said it early when the vaccines were first being developed, that I'm not going to use my platform to talk down the vaccine or to tell anyone not to take the vaccine, because that's just not my space. I said that I wasn't going to be the person that's going to be jumping the line to get a vaccine. I may not ever get a vaccine, but I'm not going to use my platform to talk down it on people who are seeking a vaccine, because I totally understand why you would seek out something like that. My problem with this and what was happening in Florida and the people that was going down there is that, the main reason why these vaccines why this partnership with these churches were happening is because the local government and local health officials in Florida understood the problem that lies there within these people, these senior citizens, these people over 65, the disabled people, these healthcare workers in the community. They understood the problem. They understood, the things that would prevent them to be able to access it. And so for me to find out that, and I don't have to call out what type of people it was that was going down there and doing it, and how I know what type of people or what they look like and what their race was, is because I've seen a video of the people standing in line. But I don't have to call out their race or what they look like for y'all to know. Y'all can guess, and you'll probably be spot on what these people look like that were going there and doing this. But this just, like, when I read this and I found this out, it just, like, when the things happened at the Capitol, a lot of people saying it was un-American, unpatriotical, and my sentiments was, this is America. Like, this is what I expect from Americans. This is what I expect from them people that carried out those acts. And this is the same thing. I have the same sentiments as in regards to this. Like, this is what I expect from Americans. This is privilege. This is people taking advantage of the system. This is people using things to their benefit that, as a result, takes away from other people who don't have the opportunities that they may have, who are not afforded the opportunities they may have, I should say. And so when I seen something like this, it definitely made me mad, but I wasn't surprised. But the fact that I wasn't surprised, it it just didn't sit right. Like, me not being surprised by something, it's not out of the norm. Like, there's a lot of things that happen within this country that I'm not surprised by. But this is literally like life and death situations for some people. And we are out here being so greedy and not waiting. And I'm not going to say we. They are out here being so greedy and not waiting their turns in terms of the vaccines being issued to communities, that they are taken away from other people. And it just didn't sit right with me. I was, after I seen the video, I started reading up on it, and I read that there were 39,000 vaccines administered in Florida over the past week. No. I don't know how many vaccines were administered in Florida. Out of all the vaccines that was administered in Florida, 39,000 were administered to people who didn't live in Florida. So this is a whole nother issue. We have the one issue with people going into underserved and underprivileged communities and taking, advantage of a system that was put in place to help those who are not afforded the access or abilities that they are. But then now we have another issue where people are literally just traveling to the state to now take away from that. Like, 39,000 vaccines being administered to people who don't live in Florida is a very wild number. I don't know the total number of vaccines that were offered or administered in Florida, wherever it was, if it was a million. 39,000 is a lot. And it just goes back to what I was thinking about when everybody was scamming and things with the EDD. Is like, we're living in desperate times, and we've been living in it. So it's not like news. It's not something that's new. It's not a new development, but it's just like we've seen people taking advantage of people financial situations to better their own. We've seen the robberies and attempted murders and things as a result to trying to take advantage of people's financial, or trying to benefit from someone else's financial situation, or gain some type of benefit for someone else's financial situation. And now we're seeing people that are literally just like robbing someone's opportunity to better their health just off of greed and selfishness. And that's the American way. That's what America was built on. That's why we have 50 states and surrounding, well, is it? I think it's 50 states and surrounding territories. I don't know if the territories are included in 50 states, but I believe that's the reason why we have 50 states and the surrounding territories that we had, because of the greed and the selfishness that America was built on. So I can't say this is out of character for Americans. I can't say this is abnormal for Americans. I can't say that, this is surprising for Americans, because this is what America is. But it's just heartbreaking to see, these older black ladies, older Dominican ladies, these older Puerto Rican ladies, older Latinx ladies and men in these lines at these churches that they've been, members of, even if they haven't been, but in lines in these places in their communities that are often forgotten and are often left out, in line to receive this vaccine, to make sure that their health is taken care of, that they're taken care of, because we're living in scary times. And then those opportunities have been taken away from them, or the access to this vaccine has been taken away from them, because people are infiltrating their neighborhoods. People who've probably never stepped foot, drove through, flew over, breezed by, spoken of. People who've never thought of these communities before are now stepping foot in these communities, standing in line to steal these vaccines for people's community. And it's just nasty. But again, we've been living in desperate times, and we'll continue to live in desperate times until this pandemic blows over. But it's unfortunate that something like this happened. Going forward, we're probably going to see worse. And so I just say to my people, and I say to everybody, protect yourself. Huge shout out to Florida for doing something right for once, in developing a plan like this. I hope that other states will also follow suit and make sure that the people in these underserved and underprivileged communities are also receiving early access to these vaccines, especially the senior citizens, because they need it the most. I think Compton, I read because I follow Compton City Hall, that they're getting ready to implement a plan to make sure that their senior citizens and healthcare workers are also receiving the vaccine. So huge shout out to my city. But I hope that other states and other are also following suit to make sure that these underserved or underprivileged communities are also receiving that same type of plan being implemented within their communities, because we need it. We need it statewide. We need it countrywide, whatever the case may be, because it's important that these people are not forgotten, because we know how it gets when it comes to healthcare, and we know how it gets when it comes to discrimination with healthcare as it results to financial hardships or income and things like that. So again, huge shout out to Florida for doing something right for once. I know they don't always get it right, but they got it right this time. Now transitioning, and that's just all I really had in regards to that. It really just hit me my heart watching that and reading that, because it's just like it was just nasty. But obviously, a big topic that we have for today is everything as it relates to Inauguration Day. Now, y'all know, leading up to the election, I didn't have too much to say for election. I didn't have too much to say for either candidates, just because I didn't support any candidate. I told y'all that I didn't vote for a president, and that's just where I stood on it. This is another instance where I'm not going to use my platform to talk down on anyone or talk about anyone or disencourage anyone to do things. But just like everyone has a right to vote, people also has a right not to vote if they don't feel inclined to vote. And that's why I chose not to vote. But here we are. We are now in the first day of our 46th president, President Joe Biden. So huge shout out to him. Huge shout out to everybody that voted for him. And so we're just going to get into all the takeaways as a result of Inauguration Day. Again, I'm not going to be a negative Nancy, you guys. I'm definitely, not you guys. I'm not going to be a negative Nancy, you all. I'm definitely here to speak positive, because there was a lot of beautiful things. There's a lot of joy that people spread in that day. And I'm not going to be the person to spread hate or spread, bad information or misinformation or talk down on things just because I don't feel a certain way. But again, huge shout out to the 46th president, Joe Biden. Glad that we got that idiot number 45 out of the office. I know a lot of people are, and that's why I chose to record today, because a lot of people are expressing sentiments of joy. I guess you can kind of say it's a new day again in America. And what I mean by new day again is that we finally got another Democrat in office, but we also got this idiot who spewed a lot of nasty things during this time, who implemented a lot of discriminating and racist and a lot of he spewed a lot of discriminating and racist things during his tenure, and he also implemented a lot of discriminating and racist things throughout his tenure. And it was important that he was removed for the sake of the oppressed people. And so in that sense, I'm definitely glad that we got a new president, even though I didn't endorse or support either president or either candidate. I'm definitely glad that we got a new one. And so I can't be mad about that. I feel like the biggest takeaway from Inauguration Day, which is representation. That's another thing that we cover frequently within this podcast. Representation matters. Whether it's in media, whether it's in sports, whether it's in ownership position, whether it's financial situations, whether it's presidential candidates, wherever the case may be, representation always matters. Whether it's minority people, I'm not gonna say minority. I got to stop using that term. Whether it's people of color, whether it's of people of certain faith, whether it's people of certain gender identities, or non-gender identities, whether it's people of certain sexual preference, wherever the case may be, representation always matters. Because when you have these type of people in positions that they are casted out, when they finally are able to get into position, we are able to see that, despite what the world thinks of them, despite what the image that people try to portray of them, that they're regular human beings. Despite, they may have a different whatever than you do, we are all equal in the eyes. And that's what the bigger goal, the bigger fight is in this country, is that everyone's equal. No one's superior to anyone. And I think when we get a better understanding of that, we will live in a better world. But we're decades, probably centuries away from that. But I think the closer and closer we do move to that, there's some hope for progress within this country. But the reason why I'm saying representation matters because there was a lot of representation for people of color, and there was a lot of representation for women. And that's another thing that we've been covering in this podcast the past couple of weeks is seeing women in these positions that they were never before, whether it's the commanding leader of the Navy Brigade, whether it's the owner of a sports franchise, whether it's a vice president, whether it's so many different things, whether it's Activision role, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's lead actor or lead actress, whether it's production, wherever the case may be, representation of women always matters because, for one, as I said, the goal for this country as a whole is for everyone to be looked at as equal. And for so long, women have not. And I don't think we're moving in the direction of making sure that they're sort of equal. But I think that now that they are put in positions of very high up and superior positions, that they are demanding that respect, and that they're taking they're taking these positions and they're doing such a damn good job that you have to respect them. And I think as long as we continue to see this, we are moving in the right direction because we are still living in a country that don't see them equally. We are still living in a country that take them as jokes. And that's unfortunate, but that's what reality is. And I think if we continue to see them in these positions, that will better the narrative. I'm going to say better the narrative because I feel like that's the wrong phrase to say. It shouldn't be a narrative around them, but because we are so immature as men in this country that we can't accept that as fact, if that makes any sense. And so I think as we continue to see that, we are moving towards a better place. But just in regards to this representation matters, representation was very high from, J-Lo singing and performing to Michelle Obama still in the show with her outfit and her hair and coming through slaying, as women say. Kamala been sworn, everything and as it regards to Kamala Harris been sworn in. Her promoting the shooting guard, I say shooting guard. Her, I don't know why I'm thinking about basketball. I guess I just finished watching this UCLA game, but her promoting the security guard. I don't know if you all remember the pictures, but during the White House, not the White House, the Capitol breach last week, there was a picture that has been shared on social media of this black man who was, fighting off all the terrorists within the Capitol, trying to protect the chambers and the quarters of the Capitol and things like that. And he became like an overnight star because of him just doing his job. And he got promoted this past week as a detailed security for Kamala during the inauguration. I don't know if he's going to continue to be her security, but just that right there, it was definitely something. It was definitely something great to see. Aside from the fact that we just watched a woman get sworn in as a vice president, that's something that's very monumental and something that's going to continue to be talked about. But even seeing the security guard being promoted from guarding the Capitol to guarding the second most important person in this country. Aside from that, as I said, everything as it revolves around Kamala, her being sworn in, her promoting the security guard, the fist bump that she had with Barack Obama, that was something that's going to be, plastered across media and black homes for so many years because we know what that fist bump means as black people. If you don't, have a conversation with black people and they can definitely tell you what that fist bump meant. Even just that little secret code and language with black people, the image we saw with, her and Michelle Obama pointing at each other. We know what that is. That is equivalent to the young black male walking up to his friend and, him offering a compliment to his friend and his friend responding with, "No, I'm just trying to get like you." that is like a secret, a coded language for black people of compliments. We offer compliments in a very weird way, but that those things are compliments. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. I'm trying to get like you. Different things like that. That's our cool way of offering compliments. And that's, if you don't know what that point was when her and Michelle Obama was pointing at each other, that's what that was. It's like, you got it. That's you. And so that is something that's going to be definitely significant and plastered across media for so many years, and featuring a black home, because that was a very monumental moment and a very monumental picture. Even aside from that, her son-in-law rocking the Dior ones, there was a picture plastered. I forget who was speaking. I want to say it was Nancy Pelosi, but I may be wrong. But somebody was speaking at the podium, and there's someone walking up or walking downstairs behind them, and the internet captured a screenshot of the shoes that this person was wearing, and the person was wearing the coveted Jordan Dior ones. And we found out that this was Kamala Harris' son-in-law. And so that was a moment on social media. Everything it was just so beautiful. The poem that the young Amanda Gorman recited, it was representation was high for people of color, but especially for women. Everything that happened that day. This is probably going to be one of the most talked about inauguration days for a while. I know the Barack Obama inauguration day was very talked about, just because of how historical it was that we finally got a black president, our first black president. But this and everything as it related to this was definitely big. Despite that, this created such a huge moment during a pandemic where there was no crowds at the inauguration. Everybody don't have access to TV, so I don't know that everybody watched it. But just the fact that, it created such a huge moment, and it will continue to live, on social media. Once something catches life on social media, is no telling how long that will last. But the pictures of Michelle Obama's outfit and her hairs, and Kamala Harris's son sporting the Dior ones, and Kamala Harris, fist bump on Barack Obama, and Kamala Harris being embraced by so many people, and her pointing at Michelle, and then the young Amanda Gorman with the nice yellow coat and the red wrap and the gold earrings. All these images of black people casted in this light is going to live on forever. But even beyond that, just all the women that were featured in this event, casted in this light, is going to live on forever. The Dr. Jill Biden, she also made a huge appearance. A lot of people were speaking about her because of her outfit, but also just the poise that she carries herself with and different things like that. Like, this was definitely a very monumental day, and I told y'all that despite me not caring about it, or me not caring about the presidential candidates, or the president and his vice president, things like that, I definitely understood what was going on, and I took everything in. And so that was definitely great to see. And that's all I really have in regards to inauguration. I'm not going to inaugurate you all to death, because that's just not my thing. And so as we wrap up here, I just want to say what I'm expecting moving forward, because I'm not expecting that much from this president. I don't expect that much from any presidents, because I don't think that there are too many laws or too many things implemented to change neighborhoods that I care about. And so I understand that. And so I know it will be a while until, those neighborhoods are really affected by a presidency. But for the time being, I can have little hopes for what I want this campaign, or what this cabinet, with this president, to accomplish. And I know it's going to be hard. I know the task that he has at hand is as hard as the previous Democratic president had, because you have to do a lot of cleaning up. And so I definitely understand that. But one of the first things that I was hoping for moving forward with this presidential term was just righting wrongs that idiot number 45 did. And he started that the first day. So huge shout out to President Biden for that. That was like the first thing on my list. And as soon as he, got sworn in hours later, he was, reversing certain laws, discriminatory laws and things like that. So huge shout out to him. Another thing that I want moving forward is just authenticity. I don't want fabrication. Like, I know Joe Biden has Joe Biden. Joe Biden has created a persona of like being down. And this is another thing, like black people, we have to stop. I said it before, everybody's not invited to the cookout, and we have to stop doing that. And so I'm not even gonna get into my people. We're just gonna focus on my list, and I'm gonna go back. But another thing is just that authenticity and no fabrication. Just like, I don't want him, carrying on this persona of being down to being for the people, because we saw it. The jig is up. He was exposed for who he was during the Democratic National Convention, and that's that. We've accepted that, and we've moved forward, and a lot of people move forward, and they still accepted him. And so he has to understand as a man that he can't carry on this persona. Yeah, you was a vice president for the first black president. Yes, you appointed a black woman as your vice president, and yes, you appointed all these people of color within your cabinet. And that's fine. That's who you are. That's who you are. But we now know that the jig is up on, you being down and you trying to carry this persona of like being for the people or being other people, because that's not who you are. And so I would love for him to just to be authentic in who he is, while also, taking care of our people. Those two things can exist. You can not be of the people and still be for the people, if that makes any sense. So that's another thing that I had on my list that I wanted him to check off. He's already on a bad foot. I don't know if you all have seen it, but he had the bust of Cesar Chavez behind his desk. I'm not sure what that's really about, but it seems like it's something that's not authentic. And I could be wrong, but it just seemed like it's something that's not authentic. Another thing that we seen was on his inauguration music playlist, he had MF Doom. And I knew that wasn't authentic, because there's a lot of black people who wouldn't include MF Doom, and that's okay, because MF Doom is a lyricist. Like, MF Doom is probably your favorite rapper, and usually when people have titles like that, they're not highly coveted, and that's okay. But to see this man on his list is like, all right, this is like kind of forced. I know you're probably not that big of a fan of MF Doom. Probably don't know who MF Doom is, but because he recently passed, because that was someone who, was a topic in media for the past 3 weeks or so, you've now inserted him in your playlist. And so that seemed kind of weird. So on this list, or on this note, this checklist, he's already like off to a bad start, but he could still write it. He still got 4 years to right his wrongs and stop trying to live this persona of quote unquote being down. And the last thing I want was my money. Y'all excuse my language, but hey, you owe me $2,000 stimulus check, and I'm gonna be waiting on it. You talk a lot of big game. You've talked a lot of big game, and so now I need my $2,000, and I need it pronto. That's all I have for the Speak One Piece podcast this week, y'all. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I definitely appreciate your listenership throughout the weeks. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to the page. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe to all of my pages. You can find them in the link in my bio on Instagram at Speak My Piece Pod. Again, my Instagram is at Speak My Piece Pod. I have a Linktree link in my bio, and you can literally subscribe to whatever platform you want to off that Linktree link. Before we get out of here, my what to watch for this week, I have two. One is One Night in Miami, which is on Amazon. You have Amazon Prime, it's free. And the other one is American Skin. It is planned on local drive-in theaters, but that's also on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay for it. So again, my what to watches for this week is One Night in Miami, which is also Regina King's, I think, directorial debut. I could be wrong, but I believe it is. And then we have American Skin, directed by the great Nate Parker. My best kept secret for this week, we're going to go with Nyck Caution featuring Joey Badass, How You Live It. Once again, my best kept secret for this week is Nyck Caution featuring Joey Badass, How You Live It. That's the Speak My Piece podcast for this week. I'm out.